Gather in here because the cars are obstructing the view. Although I made a shot and shot. Right shot. Will me drink? No me drink. And no me tagaha. And black shot and octa. Moment I arrived, this plaque in memory of the O'Reillys, writers and scholars. Agus Denhig and Monsignor Padraig of Phoenix Asian doing. Agus Gramina Mahagat Padraig as Stockton Toronto so in Nangan. Couple of fucking of Padraig.
Yes, Marie. God bless you. Is that enough now for an introduction?
Yes.
Carclor machine. So, awesome down and I'm a vehansa. Agus an taksha nochte, dus the slari untergesa. Wie eigenlijk meer troeruke. Wie kesmoger eigenlijk meer de Sicil. Agus de frekschiel is nou af speciaal ten wil speciaal om heen aan. Ze is in de tricht na Gaelge. Of hoe samen grie en laat gaan wandelen nog. So of the three that I knew I knew her best, Cecil. I would like to have to spell her name because apparently this name was spelled in very different ways and pronounced in different ways as well. Anyhow, I call her in Irish Shishile. And I suppose Sheila is related to that too. Anyhow, for example, when I was a young student, on 10 takes a one, the only text edited reliably and with a translation was by Windisch of Leipzig, Heinrich Windisch, Tarnbo Kulne. It was about a volume of about 1,300 pages. So we had no reliable edition of any version of the Tarn until Cecil did her work. And that was more or less when she had retired from the Institute. So it's wonderful when people who are retired can do other things. I used to be in scholarship, and then I retired, and then I became a parish priest. And what I'll do next, I don't know. But the bishop was thinking I'm old enough to have a bit of sense. Pescale, Cecil was a wonderful scholar. And at the beginning, actually, she got her honours in Celtic studies and French. And some of the great scholars that we hear about, the Scorig Westmead Mariala, Dusna Hishe Shakate, the Vidar Marvun Tori, Ke. When she in first in the end, I guess the question here na Korean Brathen Veld. But the year that she left, she published 2 books. One was Ireland and Medieval Ireland and Wales, yes, and that's the short title of it, I think. And that was one of the few books which I enjoyed in my first year when I was getting interested in Celtic studies. And it was the only readable book on the early history and the early literature, and comparing them, the early Irish literature and the early Welsh literature. Peshkele, was she silent son, the Churchimach Laurele, comma, Laur Sistra, the Irish Text Society, Grue Gideon Hollis, is a sort of a romance. And then we hear no more about her in Irish letters until 1946, when she left Wales and came back to work in the Institute. She was very lucky then because at that time the director of Veganis Aaron Institute, the Bashin Thomas F. O'Reilly, no Frank, maar took the air. Agus agus in cart together no post in an institute. The Church Stacher right post in a remission, maar hampla, the Church Stacher Shanna Gaelge, the Gorkig in the Jimmy Neck. Ach the four Jimmy Neck, she's in Jahar Fruger, issue the four and post. And son Captain the Church Stacher couple postelle. Ach effect Tamil war ada or temple negative se fehe grida hade she feblian near ven winter kele leen the Gaelge. The Hanishe Rashinson the a Jahar a gober gatapagi a text na vile file shoe unpublished Irish texts. Agus Calmer Hample Trumpen of Lahas. Klumpen of Lahas, Ashtukan on Rankish. Agus bhíon Rankish go hana bhacha sta bhí sin dir an teach san gomór de. Son the Kirshimach 5 Irish political poems sin vís a get más gref fallí dienta an vilíocht a scríoch idir an dá díireach na mar agus filíocht an áráin agus bhí na dáanta anhimúil ó hef starre. Is tócha gur bíad an macala agus an léirise ná dúrtha agus is fearr stair an chiad carú an chiad le don 16 istíag atá fáil. Irish political poems. And son well is file an táin. The Kirshimach dus the Stowe version of the táin. Sin lagan dianach den táin. Agus níor chursi éan astrú le sin, but the chapsi go bhéach dín lev gan astrú chun go bhéilgan leniu ná go bhéarla. Son osna si an lagan atá sa leabhar leinach. Sin fémar thugamid insint a dód an táin. Agus insint anamlána sé agus chuirsi sin amach agus de chuirsi astrúchan go béarla ina hánta agus nótaí agus glúis. Son de bhí an lagan is crua agus ná raibh dianta gart, bhí PCD dianta gart goróir lagan a hen an táin. As de chuirsi sin amach tá fáil siché 90 agus 16 ceathair. Bheis go le tá an dán an léon in éan anna bhhéachar fade san go háirithe na naistúchan san agus na laganach untafa, reliable editions of these difficult texts. And not only that, but also a treatment of the language and the different states of the language. So the old version, we believe, was composed perhaps as early as 700 AD, but it hasn't come down in contemporary manuscripts. The manuscripts, the earliest manuscript is that in the Yellow Book of Lecan, as it is called, and that would be 13th century, I believe. So she then dealt with all these texts and the language and all these texts and conferred a fantastic cumín bhreá léan na Gaeilge. So that's my tribute to the person I knew best. Yep. Alfie I knew well too, as I spent a while in Cork University recovering my health. It's a good place to get back to health, UCD, you know. You wouldn't have to do too much. And I didn't do too much either. But then I did attend lectures now and then, and I did the H-dip, and Alfie used to lecture to the H-dip. And he was quite a lively lecturer, and used to stride across the floor and delivered always a very lively lecture with as few notes as I have myself. Then Tomás was to me a god. I got to know him very soon after arriving in Maynooth. In Maynooth in those days, you couldn't you couldn't study during spare time or during free time. But on a rainy day, who could know that you were reading a learned book or just a novel? Novels would have been allowed, simple novels, and bowdlerized novels at times. Anyhow, at that time, I began to study and to read a most famous piece of learning, and a very beautiful, written in clear and crystal English, called Irish Dialects Past and Present. And there I learned the main differences between all the dialects, and then with additional chapters on Manx and Scottish Gaelic. So that's the most wonderful book, and theories put forward in that would have been backed, of course, by research by himself. But unfortunately, all those notes and so on have just disappeared. Don't know where they're gone. But it is quite clear that each chapter there is the fruit of long and laborious study. And he was wonderful for finding evidence for this, that and the other thing in all kinds of places. In the English spoken in Ireland, in the Norman French, and all that, in the Norse. And then he had put forward certain theories. For example, he thought that the Normans were stronger in the south and in Munster and in other places, and that Norman French is responsible for one of the big differences between the Gaelic of the north, or the Irish of the north, and the Irish of the south. That is the attraction of the accent to the last syllable. For example, the word fool. You all know what the Irish for fool is, do you? Do you? Oh, you do. I'm glad to hear that. Well, now, if you were up in Donegal, what would you say? No, you wouldn't. You would say Amadun. Amadun. In Donegal, they kept the accent to the first syllable and then they shortened the next. When you go to Connacht, everything is right there. They say Amadan. They can keep the accent and the first syllable, and then they can keep the length of the other. Whereas down here, you know, we take things nice. If I wanted to say you fool, I know I shouldn't say it. The Lord told me not to say it, but I don't mean it, you know. I wouldn't say Amadan at all. I would say Avodan. Avodan. Avodan, Avodan, and Hiadla Dabran. Fool, the 1st of April. No, the long syllable vowel drags the accent as well, and then the first vowel might be lost entirely. The first syllable might be lost entirely, particularly if it begins with a vowel. Anyhow, Tomas dealt with all these things and dealt with them in a very readable way. I used to find more enjoyment in the cracks he had and the remarks he paid about other poor scholars who were labouring in fields of that kind and didn't have the expertise that he had. He was very well able to correct a person like that. And one would remember Tomas's correction. Then, who else did I know? Well, anyhow, I would like to say this about Tomas, that when I went to Maynooth again, I started doing a private reading of his work, and then, of course, we were delighted. We were pleased, and we benefited very much from reading, first year especially, Dánachil and Búrdún Bheaga. I like the Búrdún Bheaga about Owen Rua, you see, when he was at the stations, and he was told to give you a seat to the big farmer who came in. So he went down and he sat on the turf. And then he said, Ní híon bhachtanachtas masadin ná bheith híos go dó. Ach an tarcasne a lanane ná leiseach na lón, má tá taradbach mar an naglis, níl bríon ar nó. Is ní fear dulchar an afid ná síran, món. Then, of course, he worked very hard on when he was, as a young person, of course, he had no post. He was a civil servant, but he had a post in the university. But he decided that, you know, we needed really a learned journal of modern Irish studies. So he founded one called Gedelica. Now, Gedelica is I suppose, only one volume came out in four different parts, but it dealt with all the things we're even still interested in. I think his review of Fiachra Eilgach's Brian Merriman is the best piece of work on Merriman's work on Courtin Van Ihe, because O'Reilly read all the manuscripts. He used to come down to Maynooth. We have about 400 manuscripts in Maynooth. In those days they were uncatalogued, but thank God during my space of time there I catalogued them all. And so Tomas used to come down after his day's work in some office, and it is said he brought a candle with him, because the Maynooth Library, for safety, they were afraid to install electricity, but quite recently. But we do know that Tomas on Saturdays, Sundays, and late some evenings used to come down to read all the manuscripts. So it's from that really, I think, and on that foundation, you know, his great learning was laid, safely on that foundation. Some scholars never read manuscripts. I suppose you could still call them scholars, I don't know. But I personally think that you couldn't be an Irish scholar unless you read a good lot of Irish manuscripts. And it's a wonderful thing really to do the same. O'Reilly in his Gudrun Bugger and in the other book based on the syllabic verse, Dánokal, he picked out I think the very best of these occasional verses or quatrains written by scribes and scholars. I like this one now, but O'Reilly didn't print this one because there is a certain amount of innuendo in it. Braher fada firin fiún, calach hú agus lún bras, omro durcha evad shir, buinech gach dinne a chiel as. You get it? Well, I want to explain because the bishop might be after me. And then, of course, he was appointed Professor of Irish in Trinity College. Now, his first publications were at his own expense, and he lost money, especially with this journal Gadelica. But then, later on, then he was appointed Professor in Trinity College, Professor of Irish, most unexpectedly. And he's most grateful to Trinity College because they financed him. They gave him a salary, so he was able to devote himself to scholarship only. And he then brought out things like Don to Gra and the famous introduction to the second edition of Don to Gra by Robin Flower. And then and Courtly Love. And then he brought out Masca Don to Heragus Ado. And anyhow, he was appointed for a while as research professor of the National University. He didn't belong to any of the colleges, but he went down to Cork and he thought he'd get on very well with his brother, but the brother thought that he had a duty to teach as well, and they disagreed on that point. So Thomas soon anyhow gave up that particular post and was appointed director of the Institute of Advanced Studies when De Valera set it up in, I think it was 1940 or so. And he worked there for about 70 years. Now, when he went to the Institute, he was rather demanding on students and scholars. And dialectology at the time was neglected, so he brought a professor from London to initiate young scholars into the science of phonology and dialectology. And then he himself actually decided that seeing that mythology was very much neglected, that he would now deal with Irish mythology. And he brought out this famous book, Early Irish History and Mythology. And I remember getting it as a present from a doctor in St. Helens, Lancashire, because he thought to be full of the nice stories about Phil McCool and Cuchulainn. Well, they are mentioned in the book all right, but it's not that type of book. It's a very, very learned book, and but at the same time, people think that he would have done better if he actually published more in the Irish language. I'm sorry now for keeping you so long, but I admire these people so much that I just don't know when to stop. I suppose you've heard enough. Will you know when to give?
I read our Nash, none of extra show denta, August Big and Teaguin, August Scones, August and Shin Bake, Dina Ele, Kind Freshen, August Patrick Lane, August Dibek is to put Kada Harlow. You would know what would happen after that. But more music, more chat, more tea. A cup of tea, cup on tea. And go meet a Mahagut, Patrick, August Dame the Gunonish.
The tig sock is it hockey leg agus a hockey hen agus a hockey leg sa le chané a shechonig muintig rahle Thought Neve, Richard, Okilik Shafto Shafkani, Negative Sadata Cool, Rishore and Solin Tor, Tomas, Okilik Softo Dogri, Negative Packet 3, and Cecilo, Okilik Nehakagri, Negative Softo, Sorsploy Galia. Alfred Okilik Softo Gagri, Okilik, Negative Shaskane, Carpabili, Caroskele, Carsa Agrisha, Agus Udo, Agus Sagart, Agus Ahers, Scotch. Agus Nenur Electbine, a Selic, Thomas Francis, we were boss of Hopkinig, Agus Unofane, Agus Julia, Nifori, we were boss of the Begi, Agus the Hoch, Luris, Fig, Post, Supremo. Take a shot from the translated.
I Square Lynch.
In this house between the years 1881 and 1899, that lived the O'Reilly family, of whom were Richard, 1877 to 1945, a journalist and an artist, Moss, 1882 to 1953, here I was ordained, and Cecile, 1894 to 1980, Sauce, outstanding Irish scholars, and then Alfred, 1884 to 1969, a public personality, and a university man, church person, the best sense of the word.
He was a priest.
And an author. And 9 other children who were born here, Thomas Francis, of 1899, who died in 1899, and Julia, originally Curry, a grandniece of Eugene O'Curry, who died, and she died in 1928.
Don't pass the reef to the Insanity, August.
Here we are, man. You can shut off the camera once we got in.
Oh, sure, of course. Job done.
The rest of them are mere lesser mortals. Children of a lesser God.
Oh, yes.
Not Reverend Gael and Gahunta kag maganyan shin.
Oh, sure.
Vi sé ag sile uig a ní nach húna. Far á corca gaine.
Right.
Far á
Oh, yes, oh, yes. Oh, yes.
John. Nora.
All right now, all right.
Oh yes, sure. Oh, That's how I tell you that's why, because that's the time to take it. I do it very nicely. John, a nice one to me for the mushroom.
Oh, he has a new book he was in anyway. No, but he was talking, he was pushing Vanessa's yard, his mother. Vanessa, you know, I said, hey, this is something.
Right, now back to the rawness. I want to point out to you that at the back of the room there's three glass cases as they say. And in each one you have, the first one you have Tomás F. O'Reilly's books. And the second one, Dara Cowan, Lowell Cecile O'Reilly. So three accounts, three of Lynch Queen Glenna, Lowell Alfred O'Reilly. Now, we feel Tashi Three Glass, Tashi called out for some, the lower shin, Tashi Three Glass. I was thought a shin around, but one of the weakest of Korea go on a project to bloom. A hurry commotion then is ear scholar, ear farplay, an institute or the name of the Institute of Higher Studies. Project to Brown, our own Project to Brown. His wife Martin Marriott is here with us today. Now, Project isn't a man for the limelight, but he is what you might call a noted scholar and writer, and especially in the Irish language. And there's a lot of scholarship to his credit already, a lot of learned works to his credit, and he's working on a very learned work at the moment. Project living in Ballingreenine, from Ballyduff originally, Project to Grow. Now I want to thank also John Pearce from Listowel, who we call it is the third person of the Blessed Trinity, who actually thought up this whole idea. As John Pearce, Project to Grow, and myself, and we brought it to Glarney Noel. It kind of went from Glarney Noel to us and from us back to Glarney Noel, which I remember. as a result of the coffee mornings here, I go to going coffee and shops, and on his letter agus cultura, Taration after the shafter, and so do we. The back day or dollar ride agus. Those egg-shell egg-shell fi clowny rahana. The egg-shell when blino in Galville Sequoia, agus egg-shot in the screen or agus Nina Cover arrived in plaque show occur in order. Now Tommy on the way up the first November as we away and a black show is plaque cray over agus Tasha look for come on this number in tour shop or no Cahir or Clowny Rahana town number shin look for agus and plaque who look for freshen. Now I can see I've said so much already and I want to stop and shop. Right. And Kate Cantor, Tarish Mukwikas a goal, Le Padre and Shaw, a hug on the left to Joe, Egan Tig, agus a nuptig and flat going on Nangin to no Irish in or Sakar. And I don't take all the body bucket ear, olive, Guelga, Gloucester, my nose. Ear, Bona Hor, the kid, dinner the kid, Bona Hori, the Glorn and Whale. Ni vet and Coluder and Shortanona and Short Cornell, because I wouldn't be here, because he founded London Valley. If he hadn't gone ahead with all those great men those years and founded London Valley, we wouldn't be together doing this evening. Maybe the O'Reillys would not be remembered this evening. By the way, that would be a mystery to say something like that, because in actual fact, Writers Week here in the Stone have done a power of work since their inception. And they have worked with me on this, and they've worked with me to prepare the Ikshah during Writers' Week. They've given us a spot on the programme, and they've given us great support, and they're giving us great support to carry on with this work this evening as well. So, Ramah to Writers' Week. Tom Medley and Sean Writers' Week. Put him us. Now, Paul as I say, was all of those things. He's also the director. Now, he never stops. And he's also, when he came back to Dingle, he set up the T-shirt, and that is an institute, Stadir, Lane Bookish. And it's a very beautiful building, and it's well worth a visit when you go to Dingle. He is one of the people, he's a person who's, again, produced a lot of work in the Irish language, and one of the works that he has contributed is translation of the Bible as Gaelic. Now, okay, after that, I want to get a man here to stand up and speak for the first time, I think in public, maybe since the council meeting, as the new mayor of the store, Anthony Curtin.
On behalf of the Short Town Council, I want to welcome you all here this evening to this very historic occasion. I suppose an occasion that is long due, overdue, that should be. The O'Reilly family, I read about them many years ago, and I suppose I didn't remember that much, but as of now, I think I know a lot more about them. And I suppose it is only right and proper that this committee came together to erect this plaque in Listowel to the O'Reilly family. And I suppose when the people of Listowel walk down our lovely square, and that they will see the plaque up and they will remember the O'Reilly family, and they'll be asking people who they were, and there will be many people in the town of Listowel that will be able to tell them who they are. And indeed, when our visitors will come into Listowel, they will see that the O'Reilly family was remembered. They were O'Reilly family from Ballylongford, and I suppose it is very important that all those people are remembered. With saying that, I welcome you all on behalf of the Listowel Council. It's my first night as Mayor of Listowel, standing up before you, and I hope that I'll do many more before the year's out. Thank you very much for listening.
Before I introduce the next speaker, I want to mention a man who contributed greatly towards this project.
and he was Father Tony Gone. Now, Father Tony should have been here, but I presume he could not be here this evening. And if he could, he would. I can guarantee his heart and soul in this. And Father Tony spoke at length and spoke great at the egg show we had in St. John's during Riders Week with Tara Boswick of Innis at the time, and the Cahill on that evening was Johnny Murphy himself from UCC. Now, the next speaker is not her first time out as mayor of anything. It's her last time out, and you know what, I just got her in time before she left, because I have a great old love for her. I think she was a great mayor of Kerry. Teresa, so on your last occasion, she's going to say a few words to you, and in public.
We're in the school, Cahirirlach muintear first novelge, Conor novelge, agus glór novelge. Will I not read the Darutha? No, she's not right. Tach the dog agus muintear the stool. Tom Shan has the Gerby shop on Ocha Dernach comes the mar where the Kiri when Capish will she rehoftach. And the support the Dana a yen on me to see and clown Arella, our son Yvonne Kultur of the Star in the Irisha Ach, our Tanga of the Sarayach of the Tassinus of our Mare the Kiri, Kohor the Sagual, Leshnalina, a wait to Flesham, and Rodsha Yen of Agaskovich, Harvin and Bedenta, of the Samana Hosta of Lorna Vale, we went to Flesh to Kohor the station. I also want to say that I'm actually very happy as well that this is my last official engagement, and it's Anthony's first. It's our only time as two Sinn Féin mayors in the county doing an event like this together, and I'm sure that Anthony will serve this town very well indeed. And I just want to say how proud I have been to represent the county. I may have been a controversial mayor for certain reasons, but at all times I did my best, and I tried to be as honest as I could be. And I'm happy within myself with the job that I have done, and it's amazing actually how the wheel turns, because one of my first events was here in Listowel and my final event is here. So I'm not sure whether I should maybe consider running the Listowel electorate area rather than the Tralee, but that'll be a matter for a couple of years' time. So we're mil maith with us in Kerala staff the show, and I'm size bronach and you've got a create new post I saw the leis ma just culture shock sin a pushgur de her brewer mat, you know, that are Irish and Omoradi Marnie Rose the value on the man, so I'm sul more than a bail of this lava. So when you get out of us ni might frach the head and Tom continue mochola. So when you get out of us, I was Kogor of the Sarish, as a sorrow over Hodi on the Grisha, I was Bader Roy and make meat and stuff, I was the Jenna Brother and Connor to support the Dorn of Life, I was a sorrow over Hodi on the Grisha. Very well.
The very that Harish Irie as the Ben Lera he come to kill that person. Amen. What is going to fuck her off? Chow first no way to get home. How you doing? The one good first November. Amen. What is not?
Fair Kitty is a fair and still will have to dollar on Sailor and the video which they're found. You Michelle Confant and Charlotte, the Lord, the False, and Unfilm, of Philippa, Homer, your Homer, Kate Feated, and Kinda, these two here, and what's the Carlo. As Queen could I catch her in a one, Samana, Lixna, Cobabilla, and Carosha, Dapish, and the third chair. So one school Lixna was at Kirby's Forge. Now, we had no forge over in the square, but I felt it was like a forge, where you learn an awful lot of things in the forge, and people coming in and going out all the time. But we learned an awful lot in that 10 or 15 minutes when I'm seeing it over in the square, and I'm no doubt you're all looking forward to the remainder of his talk. I'd just like to, one of the biggest of our notes is Lauren and Lyra. For today, Keshtaram, did you come down especially for this? I'd love to say I did, but I'm afraid I didn't. I was on the road anyway, I was in Donegal. So, and I was in Galway, and I was in Armagh, so I was on the road. So when Matt asks you to turn up at something, you don't say no, you just ask him what time. So tá áhasarang bhras na bhéige go ramar ná chuig carú leis an tabhar seo agus €1 milliún ar fáil an tabhar agus ní réon dá fé ach tá aithneas tiltte ag muintear rána. It was also a connection as well with the Vera Curie was finishing her term tonight or tomorrow, and the new mayor of the school, it's just new mayor and party Sinn Féin, because it's done Alfred O'Reilly stood, I think, for Sinn Féin, if I'm not mistaken, in Cork Corporation in 1921, and then stood for the Dáil, I think, in 1923. I think that he served 1 year at the TD, but he never spoke in Dáil, I don't think, but that's just the connection between the party and Alfred O'Reilly as well. So I reached one trace through the Gordon Irish and Gahela, more shows the field, there's the history of father, but that's the match. And I think you've started something here today, and maybe you shouldn't just leave it like that. We have Writers' Week in the store, and there's no reason why we wouldn't have a weekend or an egg shed in the store, and maybe Lord may consider something like that in the future, to have a weekend, because there's a huge amount of information and in relation to Winter Iraq and what they did, and it's not for me because I'm Silver Film that can tell us a lot better than I can, and I won't go into that, but I just maybe to suggest perhaps that not to leave it just tonight, which is important, but maybe we should look at having an Asia or a Tinol on a weekend for Winter Iraq and this on an annual basis. Got to be the man.
Tá fearna agus tá sé ferry all go Jim Calif a trasan na Shunnas is tá sin na fóní is Calif gan ishe a grúgwe gahar gana the city of Derry.
I'm a hard boy. When I get checked this, when senior earners Carol Gra and different actually at their Gilga, all of us in Gilga show it was thematic. Spoke with us and we're going to be hanging in their being so we are acting in Meredith no Gilga. I'm going to show you. Kuig is out there he hagen to proceed my cancer because Merla I was thirsty is he speaking in English? And 5 came up in Gag Changa na Winter O'Reilly run my lane Celtic agnostic on Ireland. So we're thinking I can go all the seconds of them for Winter O'Reilly and so lane the center away na down to Cra if you might occur or na down to Grag and Austin no we might crash I give you Gilliga hiskins of related sin. Ach nillion dog na gynarna si star over. Agus gynarna glúr chevali Marie, stature of scholar, agus dag si rodegen doing your fad mar hubble. And I'm gynarna and Gil if we baggart. Agus ner tatini giri and lane. Agus in Gilliga went das kursi lane. Agus iron malok mar habla and hakta dalafini gilum show. Mardino glorn the meal. Mac na vinyanu na multi attacks in the Gil. Like listen Gilligan went and correct. To see how the how go on in Gilligan or Atashi, Aginia, Aaron curriculum. Is mar upper of us mar seher, Dini Mar Neratli, will give you a wagging the link to show you. Obviously, Molamaka Haraha over a question show. Or a third man, you may show Dominic, the Blaine and Lewis and this, was to make sure Dominic show and this Dominic and Macan. More or less in Mola Tag Gaming and show. The eggs to say seconds occur one. Big Lord and Neil Stas the Cower of Richard Road Marsin. And Corha Tan Sicarno Ganocht. Big Kurturi Worker. Big Kurturi Kurkest. A bitter and Kest is Tawakti, Dovison, and Changan and Walshe. The Gloration to Tear Shaw, and I mean Corha Camerla. I was the main magic grab body for the Dinia Hanna Groinia, Camerla. And Shaw, Hope Shifting Kenna Clark. Kursa and Corha, or Fad in the Liga of Small D. Vassin. Remagration as in Korea Technical.
Very good. No, another one. I just know this one. And Kaya looked on the way it's doing. Pinning she on board is young. She keeps the ship moving. Now she's in field.
There is a lot of matter, she's in the lot that could be when you don't matter, fact free to look about and so on.
So tight.
So, you're surprised anyhow, and because of that, I'd say very little, except that it was a wonderful night. I was fond of God, but I'm going to have a part of a field there. agus Mayor Kerry, Trish Elisa, agus Anthony Curtin, Mayor Listowel, agus Eamon O'Haravan, and First Australia, agus Judy Dean, agus Tapdala, agus Owen Cormac, agus gach ila din a hanigil seo, gach card de Listowel, agus an duhin magud. But it's a wonderful occasion and delighted to be here and delighted to welcome you all as some marca here the Northern agus the Cumberland. So now we don't take the wrong, but anything regarding Alfred O'Reilly, you can find loads of stuff in the library. My father, Anthony Gowan, has 3 books actually written about the O'Reillys. So that's if you want to know anything more about it. And it's not enough to leave the Ragum will solve Ahsan, the son of August Father, a curve Gabina, August Garamida Mahagam Asam Chat.
Well, great to go on fishing by Kathleen Brown, August Eamon de Bruin, and Ashton has sponsors for an hour at all, August Hook on to us, Ta Taki Bloom to Tuba, Eamon Lauren, Conde doing. Kathleen August Eamon. Now, good topic, Jimmy. Store John did this store rate in Shaniki, North Kerry Trust, August fundraising, Kyle fundraising committee. August Magiona Shin is Magiona Dean Custody Jimmy Ta Burgundy Custody Shop. We have fine centres like this in the store that we're able to commemorate our rivals.
Marta Midi Kielura, Tour Annis, Thomas Duhel, the Anna Chocolate, Monsignor, Mayor of Kerry, Mayor of Listowel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to say a few words about the O'Reilly family and also to address the Mayor of Kerry for our last outing, because at a few previous occasions I didn't see her in the audience and I didn't address her properly, so I'm delighted and compliment you on the very good view you had as Mayor of Kerry. It's great to see young people involved in politics, it's great to see women involved in politics, and I would like just to say that to you. You had a very good year in politics, and Matt was saying this is your last public occasion. I doubt it somehow. People at times maybe don't realise how important a figurehead a mayor can be. So I wish you the very best to Tony during the year. It'll be a big challenge for you, especially at the time when the town is expanding, when there are major developments. Could happen here, maybe hopefully there will, but big decisions will have to be made by the urban council, and I'm sure they'll make the right ones. I'd just like to acknowledge the work of Norman Whale under the leadership of Mary Jo and Matt and others, because as Joe Murphy described Mary Jo as the pig sayers of North Kerry. And there's no doubt about that, because she's got a great love of the Irish language, and that rubs off on the rest of us as well. I must say that I've always been very inspired over the years and her genuine love of the Irish language and everything to do with Irish culture. And I know at times, Mary Jo, you feel that you're working in isolation and you get frustrated sometimes, and that's only natural, but keep it up. And you have a very good committee behind you, and you have a great man in Matt behind you, Joe Murphy and all the rest of your committee. You're doing very, very good work. And just to acknowledge as well the input of John Pierce, who's here this evening, and Padraig de Bruin,
and Matt into providing this plaque just to honour the O'Reilly family. About 10 years ago, I remember the time I was a junior minister and I was launching a diploma course in UCC in Cork. And it was only then I really realised the contribution that Alfred O'Reilly made to education in this country, adult education especially, and also rural development as well. And I hadn't realised that until then. And I remember saying to someone down there in the college, God, a lot of people in this store don't really realise the importance of Alfred O'Reilly, and indeed the O'Reilly family, and especially Cecilia, who was one of the most distinguished Irish scholars that this country ever produced. So we're recognising a very important Listowel family. We're ensuring that they will not be forgotten, and people will continue to ask about the O'Reillys and who were they, and what did they achieve. And I would like, in this, one of our objectives here in this building was to do something for the Irish language. It was always part of our objective. As you know yourself, Eamon, because Eamon was chairman of our government committee that made about 100,000 for this building here. And we certainly would like here in this building, and through Cara, that we could do something maybe through O'Reilly to promote the Irish language here in this particular building. It's very much part of our philosophy to do it. Apart from the O'Reillys, just to point out to you, there are a number of families or distinguished people that came from the square that seems to be forgotten about, and that's, I suppose, that's life. People are forgotten about very quick and they pass on, unfortunately, but that's the way it is, that's the nature of people. There are people like Joseph O'Connor, Tim Danaher, who was one of the great broadcasters. One of the people who was born in the building here was Bertha Beattie. Now, she wrote a book called Kerry Memories. She was part of the ascendancy, part of the people who left North Kerry when we achieved our independence. But she had very good memories of North Kerry, and Paddy de Brú now is reproducing that book again, plus footnotes that were added to the book by a man called McElligott, distinguished scholar here from the store, who was another man connected with the square as well. So that will be launched in a few months' time, and we hope to put maybe her portrait inside the building out at the front. But Bertha Beattie, her name was Bertha Cray. She was born next door and then they lived here for a number of years. Finally, I'd just like to say that Listowel has a very good product in its literary achievement. We have to, I think, ensure that we present this product to the world, that we, I suppose, parcel it properly and so on, and present it properly. We should try to do it in both languages as much as possible, but it's one of our greatest assets that we have here in this town, and we have to try to benefit from it in a very positive way, and not by selling cheaply, but to probably create an impression of Listowel like the same as they have done for Shakespeare's territory or Lawrence's territory in England and the Lake District and elsewhere in the UK and also in America. So I think it's possible to achieve that. And finally, could I just say that there's one woman forever present at any literary event that I've ever been in North Kerry. She's always there, be it the Sean McCarthy Memorial Weekend or whatever, and that's the great Kitty Hearn. I think it might be saying when people get older, they like to boast about their age. But Kit now is about 92, it's said Kit, and still going strong, and we'll be around for a great celebration for that 100, I'm sure that's Kit. So anyway, I mean that sincerely. She's been a great supporter of the arts and everything, and she's made a massive contribution, both financially and otherwise, to the arts here in North Kerry. So ladies and gentlemen, Matt asked me to say a few words. I'm sorry, Matt, if I haven't gone too long, but look, I'm delighted to be here this evening. I'd like to come out to Dublin and be with you here this evening. Thank you very much.
Slán that says, and I do regret what I said. I knew when I said it was wrong to the last public appearance. Last public appearance as mayor, and I hope you go from strength to strength from now on, the public, as a public figure. Slán agus Connacht. Oh, where do I go from here? This is just great. These people who have helped us so much and brought us along and we're swept along. And even when you mention Kate, she reminds me of towers of strength, the towers of a great city. That she's standing there at all times when the going is rough, and when you want support, she's there. And she is the like of her that has given the like of us who are trying to keep active in this field that gives us encouragement at all times. Kate. Now, I want to go back now to Padraig Fianachta, who has been. I've left him. I'll take a great rest after that wonderful exposition of his knowledge outside of the house where they lived, where the O'Reillys lived. Now, what a lovely thing it was to have it in situ, to have it on location. And it was like an old Bardic school there. And a nice summer's evening. Padraig, the floor is yours again. Would you like to continue with some more, and a little bit just, and others I would like to join in. Does anyone left who would like to say anything there and make a contribution? We would welcome it. Come on, good Padraig, all right, lads. I thought you'd fucking around.
This will you be listening in me a lot of us who were this guy Krishna and she was and Mera time. Pescare in me couple of special and stuff magnet. Kahar no reacher and here the listed out and the Maserati, the count the two Patricks. It's actually another Ach not again a mass could lower. I'm could lower without nine. Dogs Manwood, it's in Thailand, Mishia, Shida, and Sidawan. Pescare, Masson Larson, taught on the floor Stephen, among my books, is the typescript of the famous lecture that Thomas O'Reilly gave, entitled The Two Patricks. And it was the foundation, might say, of the science of patriciology. We talk about Vaticanology. But actually he more or less started a whole subject, and most scholars have contributed and joined in the fray, because they all had very strange views, and some of them have been abandoned and some of them have been developed. Well, he maintained there were two Patricks, Shen Padraig and Night Padraig. Of course, when Christianity came to Ireland and Latin was first heard, they had in Ireland we had no P. Any word in the Irish language which begins with a P is a borrowed word. Well, I suppose the outstanding example is just the one for father, because you have it in Sanskrit it's something like Pitta, and in Greek it's pater, in Latin it's pater, in English it's father, and in German one is almost the same, and then in Irish it's ahad, so the P is lost. So St. Patrick wasn't called Padraig at all when he came first. He was called, because they put C in the place of P, so he was called Cutrig. And then later on, then they learned to pronounce this sound, especially in the beginning words they had difficulty with it. And so O'Reilly realized there were two groups of borrowings from Latin. And he made out that the first group represented this Shenfadrig, the early Padraig. In his view, like he thought Shenfadrig meant the old fellow. And the young Padraig then belonged to a later generation or more, because
in his time then the words were borrowed and the letter P of the sound P would remain even in the reading of the word. But anyhow, at the time there was a famous scholar from I think he was an Austrian, yes, he was a refugee from Hitler. He was in physics, theoretical physics or something. I don't know much about these names of sciences, but he was, shall we say, a non-believer. So when he heard about this lecture about the two St. Patrick's, he said, there were, of course, we must thank the for this wonderful institute. It has succeeded in proving there are two St. Patrick's, no God, but two St. Patrick's. And Thomas O'Reilly was incensed, and he took us to court, and I think he won his case. Anyhow, that's why I was reminded of that, and also the fact that I had, his transcript of this famous lecture. Then I looked there too and saw his collection of papers in Irish idiom. We bun ahead Gaeilge we massen down in the Scottish an had pattern. As we were saying in Rockland, we've mass force because the chance score, the Anavasco, around their Shema. I was PC over the heaven, the Glengargan. Kahir Hugon Gum Swag. I was nearly that he had so, ni fraud less say into, and he had ach me fade, he into, gang the shade into fear. PC Brave Father Marshall the Lady Back. I was in anesthesia, shink in the women that died, I was in the Rahimi died, I was who Moss for a headache in Vienna, as I said here, the Turini and Nocht and Tag Pattern, the Lord name. The Galway. Then I had more closer connections with Elfie O'Reilly, president at the time of Cork University, who was also to lecture. This was I did the HD there actually. I did it to Irish. He didn't lecture to us to Irish, but he lectured occasionally a little on class, and I really enjoyed him. But then I also knew him in a different way. Before he decided to become a priest, he got very, very interested in theology, and especially, or he revived, I suppose, his interest in theology, and especially the life of Christ. So at one stage, he had actually ready 18 volumes on the life of Christ. But only one of those volumes appeared, as far as I know, anyhow. That is the family of Bethany. It's quite an interesting read. And so now is the question of Salvatore, I guess we should go to the maar we should along the studeren again, I guess we should go batterij jogen, we should all ordnen in the jogen. So no, it's wel studeren als je again als de shirash ordens geleid, maar kan alles we should fein, so we should skulka. I guess we mess down again scolari and spin leave. I guess a lot of push to carry the very women's people. I guess stuff within forward. Hashe Venta Janna, Margaret Banahan, Soccer Cuban. Old and said, Nisha and Mother Shisha, starting when they're already talked to Lewis, who faced this the release talk to Yenchi as on the radio. And Anderson, we should diffuse the father Thomas, I was diffuse the Alfie, we should Kuhn, we should Soccer, nor we Comora in the Hanor. Agus greibh stoimen an dagan nach the time could not get a kid. The Irachar
couple of hours. And the same made the you know, is being bailed in the house. And this is still an illustration of those days. It's still going to do kindly close to me. Enough of this. For me,
No, Mark, we should be out. And then, if anybody else wants to speak now, be further side. In and chin, versus the law. In, good, them all again. Any comment to make? I'll tell you, I take comments from the floor. That's what they're going to do. No, Madeleine, where's Madeleine? Madeleine, I want to welcome you because I know you represent Writers Weekly this evening. Would you like to say, just a few, just let them see you. Just come up here a minute. Go on. Come on, come up here a minute. Yeah. Before we go on. So look, I can do what you can do. Oh yeah. Come on, tonight. Take her in, that's what she does. Ladies and gentlemen, and call her back.
Scrooge brought the fish, some shock in the strong, the tree lorry, there's some match, some old college, the show. We made her show and her father Tony and Laura couple of years in August, Nilegi, I played Marcadia, August Duce, Griship, Hunter Grafad, August Astimana Guminson, Narahadig, Tana, Winter, Old Body, and Longford, and Shaw, Tim, August Catherine, August Clown, August Ta, Ilmarajer, or Dut Jimmy. Is undug an áit seo an Carnog. Tá an nómachin star vantish agus na daoine bharigam levan cúpla feag na céadna agus is das iad comór mar seo plaque an bhada agus mar dúirt Jimmy is dógún big plaque head an seo the Betty agus muintir eile cóbá agus Gavin provided Cork was seen at the Colonel Dale, August the match, as to some over really sheet, Conan O'Call shot, Agro, August Corabina Mago, August Marlon may hold less. Visual that five of the head, surprise everything. Right, okay. Now, plate nomid Marcin Ach, son of plate nomid, Tim McAllister, Tim versus the law. Come with him. What's your? Come with him. Let me show you. Oh, he's there. Tim, will you tell us what's your connection with your rallies? You're a big link with your rallies, they tell me. You just discovered it recently, Tim. Pausing is gone, you see. The historian is gone. He's the man that nominated you. He told me about that. Yeah. Shh, come up against the microphone. No. Alright. Oh, hold on. Agus tá ennen seo freisin ón tháinig le ceann dinge le tháinig an legan tróna tír agus tá sí gailbhar go rís leis le winterí ratha tá sí.
Okay, I'm just making apologies and I can't speak Irish and I feel not very much Irish anyway, I apologize for that. My great-granddad would be O'Reilly, which came into Longford from Clary, and my great-granddad would be McAllister. And Margaret McAllister, she was a very intelligent woman, as what we've heard, and they were running the business in Longford, and she fell in love with Sir O'Reilly, and the McAllisters didn't want O'Reilly from here, and they eloped in everything. And she took the business, we live in Main Street, and she originally, they moved down the street to Key Street, where to the Finucane's Bar is now. That's where they lived, and that's where their business followed down from Main Street, you know. But Alice, Michaelis from here, Alice Bambury, how grand would be the old Greek, the old married to O'Halley, they're buried out in Lislochta. The other O'Halleys came from Dublin and buried out in a tomb of ours out in the Abbey. I just probably knows more about history than I do actually. I know the history of it, but I'm not very good to speak. So I think it's very great for the O'Halleys to be honoured to the same event. Thank you very much. Thanks.
It was great to have you. Now, the over Mike, John Frisian and Manager.
I have never spoken in public before, but I'm delighted to be here, and it was a wonderful occasion. I feel ashamed that I can't speak the Irish, even though I got honours leaving cert 60, 70 years ago in the Irish. But whatever way the teaching is, we have the written Irish, but I feel ashamed if I met the O'Reillys that, especially Tomas, that I couldn't speak to him. Oh yes, another thing, I'm surrounded here by the Ballyloughlin, or the O'Reillys, and they say, oh, the O'Reillys here came from Ballyloughlin. I think that's too simple. The O'Reillys also came from Glynn, County Limerick. After all, their mother reared 16 children. She's not even mentioned. Her sister actually married in Dingley, and the other sister married here in Listowel. Julia Curry was her name, and Sarah Curry was the lady who went to Dingley. They were all wonderful. Penis, I knew quite a few of them myself, but that's all I have to say. My first and last time speaking in public.
Padraig O'Crohor, of course, is patron of the Archaeological Society in Kerry, and to see that actually told Tim about this, this meeting this evening, and but I presume Padraig had to go away. So that is that. I'm delighted to meet you, and that you spoke. You can always say you came to this stone, and that you spoke to us like that. And I was delighted to meet you. When you arrived this evening, you were surprised. Talk about surprises, and you were very. Patrick, you must find out more about this woman over. Where's this you from again?
I'm from West Kerry myself. I was Joe.
And where are you living now?
I'm living in Tralee.
Living in Tralee.
My grandmother, no, the O'Reilly's mother was my grandaunt. My father's sister married Alfred O'Reilly, who was president.
That's close enough for anyone. Anyone. Yeah, that's great. And of course, hold on. Oh yes, Julie is mentioned in the final line of the plaque. Yes, indeed. There were 15 in that family and 13 lived.
And she was a grandniece, yes, of Eugene O'Curry, my artist, one of the greatest scholars ever.
Yep. We again on degree courses at University of Eugene O'Curry, all connected to this family. Did you mean?
Just what was the connection with O'Reilly, the poet, the great poet of here? There was a line, wasn't there?
I do realise what it was, but actually I couldn't trace it myself to it. The name itself really is the same as O'Reilly. Developing that sort of direction. Oh yes, there was.
I want to thank very much the bonnet story of the Shanachie here, Carol Trent. A big bull bus for the lovely team. No, if I left anybody else out, I don't know. I just want to thank again, thanks Anthony, thanks. Everybody who helped us out to make this evening a success, thanks very much. People who travel long distances, Coswell, Eamon and Chuck, who got up here as well, appreciate Taco Kerry. A question for you, it's okay, Jimmy Jimmy, Jimmy gave up an engagement up in County Laois, was that right? What county? Tell us about that. Where were you supposed to be this evening when I rang you?
When you rang me, I thought Laois would have been in Dublin last Sunday, so I might have been.
So a little road that doesn't blow so good. Yes, right, okay. Yeah, okay, Jimmy. Grand. So again, Slán we'll meet John Lynch. I want to thank the cameraman who will provide the future references to all that has happened this evening for the archives. I want to thank the musicians especially behind me. And I wanted to play one more tune before we go. They are Gillian McKelligan, am I right, on the fiddle, on the concertina Martina Molyneux, and on the fiddle again, Casey Lucy. Going to meet them, I was asking, thanks everybody for coming. I think we'll go out on the right note with some good tunes from the Cockney Ted here team. Slán. Thank you, Father. Thank you. Right around the room, and you'll find all the books are there on the records.